In the quiet, dimly lit confines of my bedroom, I lie in bed all day, my presence casting a heavy shadow over the household. The air feels thick with gloom, as if my mere existence saps the joy from the old, creaky walls of my in-laws' home. It's frustrating, infuriating, even because I can't tend to my own basic needs anymore. My mother-in-law, Clara, and my sister-in-law, Mia, never miss a chance to grumble whenever they catch sight of me. Their sharp words cut deep. Drew, it's no different whether Tom has a wife or not. What's the point of a wife who does nothing? Even my father-in-law, George, chimes in with his own biting remarks, his voice heavy with disappointment. I wonder, with a pang of dread, how much longer I'll be stuck here, trapped in this bed, my life reduced to endless hours of immobility. My name is Jane Brown, and I'm 32 years old. Tom and I have been married for 5 years, a union that once held so much promise. I lost my father to a cruel illness during my high school years, a wound that never fully healed. My mother's passing shortly after my wedding only deepened that grief, leaving me without the anchor of family. Art has always been my solace. I've loved drawing since I was a child, dreaming of one day becoming a picture book artist. After high school, I pursued my passion at design school, later landing a job as an illustrator at a small design firm. That's where I met Tom, a charismatic man who worked for an advertising company. He strolled into our office one day, asking me to create a character for an ad campaign. Sparks flew, and after 2 years of dating, we tied the knot. When we married, we decided to live with Tom's parents, as did Mia, his younger sister. I transitioned to freelancing as an illustrator, grateful for the flexibility to work from home. I wanted to be a good wife, pouring my heart into keeping the house in order. Clara, my mother-in-law, had little interest in housework, often waving me off with a casual, "Do whatever you like, Jane." Mia, too, was indifferent, spending her evenings out with friends or colleagues, sipping cocktails and dining at trendy restaurants. Family meals were rare, but we coexisted peacefully enough until everything changed. 3 years ago, my world shattered. I fell down a flight of stairs at a bustling train station, the kind of accident that replays in slow motion in your nightmares. The fall left me with a spinal injury, paralyzing the lower half of my body. At first, the shock was overwhelming, a tidal wave of fear and despair. But over the past 3 years, I've slowly adjusted to this new reality, learning to navigate a life confined to a wheelchair or, more often, my bed. My in-laws were kind in the beginning, tending to me with a mix of pity and obligation. They didn't expect the permanence of my condition, though, and as months turned into years, their patience wore thin. 2 years ago, Mia got married and moved out, leaving one less critical voice in the house. But the relief was short-lived. Clara and George's frustration with me grew palpable, their sighs and pointed comments filling the air like a toxic fog. "A bedridden daughter-in-law is nothing but a burden," they'd mutter. Their old house, with its narrow hallways and uneven floors, wasn't built for a wheelchair, so I remained tethered to my bed, unable to move freely. Yet, I clung to a small blessing. My upper body was unaffected, allowing me to continue my illustration work from home. It's a lifeline, a way to feel useful despite my limitations. A helper and a housekeeper, Susie, now assists me daily. If I lived alone, the helper could handle chores like cleaning and laundry, but because I live with family, regulations limit their role to physical assistance only. Clara and George, both healthy, Clara vibrant, and George newly retired at 65, could help, but they've gradually withdrawn. Clara, who never cared for housework, found it particularly irksome to manage my needs. Tom, too, has changed. In the early days of my injury, he was gentle, supportive. Now, he barely speaks to me, dismissing my struggles with a cold. "Taking care of you isn't a man's job." His words sting, a reminder of how far we've drifted. The helper, seeing my isolation, introduced me to Susie, a 52-year-old housekeeper with a warm smile and a no-nonsense attitude. Susie's husband passed away years ago, and she has no children, a quiet sorrow we share in our own way. She reminds me of my late mother, kind, gentle, and fiercely protective. When Clara and George demanded Susie take on their chores, she stood her ground. "I'm here for Jane. If you want extra work done, you'll need to pay for it," she said firmly. Their outrage was immediate. What an arrogant housekeeper. But I felt a spark of relief. For once, someone was in my corner. A year ago, Mia returned. Her marriage dissolved after her husband's alleged infidelity. She claimed he was seduced by another woman, but I had my doubts. Mia's sharp tongue joined Clara and George's, their sarcasm now a relentless chorus. A useless wife, drawing silly doodles in bed. Mia would sneer, barging into my room to hurl insults. Exhausted by their cruelty, I confronted Tom. "Please ask your mother and Mia to watch their words. They hurt me," I pleaded. His response was a knife to the heart. "It's the truth, Jane. You can't do anything. You're just sleeping all day." I tried to explain that I was working, creating art despite my pain, but he dismissed it. "You've got an easy job, no commute like me. My family's unhappy because you can't take care of the house." His words crushed me. I longed to walk again, to move freely, to be the wife I once was. I wished, desperately, for Tom to understand my pain, my sadness. Was it selfish to want his empathy? Tears would come, unbidden, but I fought them back. I reminded myself that others faced greater hardships, that I had to keep pushing forward. Without my parents to lean on, I felt alone, yet grateful they didn't have to witness my suffering. Then came the final blow. Tom's voice was cold, calculated. "I think I'd be better off with a younger, healthy wife, Jane. I want an heir, and with you, it's impossible." My heart stopped. The man I loved, who once vowed to stand by me, now saw me as a burden, a parasite. His family echoed his sentiments, their words venomous. "You're useless, a waste of money with your housekeeper." I knew then that I had to leave. There was no home for me here, no love left to salvage. With Susie's help, I found a new place, a barrier-free apartment designed for wheelchair access. The process was seamless, thanks to online paperwork. I handed Tom the divorce papers, my hands steady despite the ache in my chest. "Good, you finally made up your mind," he said, oblivious to the pain in my eyes. "Don't hate me, Jane. It's your fault for having such a body." His callousness was staggering, but I held my head high. "I'll be fine," I told him. "Do what you like." Moving out was liberating. My helper could now assist with chores, and Susie continued to support me, not just as a housekeeper but as a friend and business manager. She revealed her past as a driven businesswoman who left a cutthroat corporate job 20 years ago. Her strength inspired me, and in my new home, I thrived. The spacious kitchen allowed me to cook, and my illustration business flourished without the weight of my in-laws' disdain. Months later, Clara began calling, her tone suspiciously sweet. I ignored her at first, focusing on my work and newfound independence. When I finally answered, she revealed their downfall. Tom's company had gone bankrupt, leaving him unemployed and reclusive. Mia's divorce wasn't due to her husband's infidelity. She had stolen his money, and he was suing her. The family had sold their old house to pay off debts, moving into a cramped, one-room apartment. Clara's pleas were transparent. They wanted my money, my success. "Come back, Jane. We'll take care of you," she said, as if her past cruelty could be erased. I was done. "I'm suing you all for the mental anguish you caused," I told her, revealing the recordings I'd kept of their verbal abuse. Clara panicked, begging me to reconsider, but I stood firm. My life was my own now, and I was one step closer to my dream of becoming a picture book author. Despite the pain, I chose to live positively, refusing to let their bitterness define me. As I stood at the kitchen sink, scrubbing dishes under the harsh fluorescent light, my husband, John, dropped a bombshell. "Emily, I want a divorce," he said, his voice devoid of warmth. I froze, the sponge slipping from my hand. "What? Why?" I asked, my heart pounding. He leaned against the counter, a smug grin on his face. I'm about to come into $3 million. That's a fortune, right? But it's mine, Emily. I don't plan to share it with you. Truth is, I only stayed with you for your salary. It's not much, but it kept us afloat. Now that I've got this money, I don't need you anymore. I want to live a relaxed life, alone. So, let's part ways. His words hit like a slap. 8 years of marriage, and this was what it came to? But I swallowed my shock, forcing a calm I didn't feel. Fine, I said. If you've got that much money, you can sell the house. It'll cover the mortgage, too. John blinked, surprised by my lack of resistance. I slammed a stack of divorce papers onto the living room table, my resolve hardening. This was my chance to escape a life that had become a prison. My name is Emily, and I'm a preschool teacher who adores working with children. I met John, 2 years my senior, through a mutual friend. We fell in love, married, and bought a house, dreaming of a future filled with children and laughter. Those early days were blissful, full of hope. But soon after our wedding, John changed. His obsession with money consumed him. Emily, all you do is play with kids, he'd sneer. I'm slaving away at my job while you've got it easy. People like you are freeloaders. His words became a daily refrain, chipping away at my confidence. Being a preschool teacher is no small feat. Every child is unique, their needs and personalities demanding patience and care. We're entrusted with their safety, their growth. It's a responsibility I carry with pride. But John dismissed my work, ignoring my complaints and belittling my efforts. His refusal to have children was another wound. If you've got time to make babies, you should work more, he'd say. Don't tell me you're planning to quit your job using a kid as an excuse. We've got a mortgage, taxes, don't even think about it. His words silenced my dreams of motherhood, leaving me trapped in a marriage that felt more like a transaction. With the divorce papers signed, I walked away, ready to reclaim my life. John could have his money, his solitude. I had my passion, my purpose, and a future to build. One where I wouldn't be defined by his greed or his cruelty. The sting of John's harsh words still lingered in my heart, his voice echoing in my mind like a relentless storm. You're not working hard enough, Emily. That's why I'm stuck doing overtime, to keep us afloat. Be grateful, he'd yell, his face flushed with anger. I stood there, frozen, unable to muster a defense. Sure. John was older, with a more established career, and his income outpaced mine by a few $1,000s. But the gap wasn't vast enough to justify his arrogance. I poured my soul into my job as a preschool teacher, finding fulfillment in the bright smiles and curious eyes of my students. To be belittled for something so unreasonable was humiliating, a wound that cut deeper each time he spoke. Alone in the quiet of our home, I'd cry silently, my tears soaking into the pillow as I wondered why he always looked down on me. Lately, John's demands for solitude had grown more frequent, his tone dripping with disdain. I could live just fine on my own, Emily. I've only stuck with you out of necessity. Don't forget that, he'd say, his words like daggers. I began to suspect his increased overtime was a factor in his irritability. He claimed he was working late to make ends meet, but I meticulously tracked our finances. His salary hadn't budged, despite his boasts. When I gently pointed this out, his rage erupted like never before. Who do you think makes this lifestyle possible? I could dump you in a heartbeat if I wanted to. Be prepared. His words carried a chilling threat, a far cry from the man I'd married. Before we exchanged vows, John had been kind, attentive. Now, our conversations as a couple had dwindled to terse exchanges, leaving me in a haze of despair. Then came Thanksgiving, a day that pushed me further into darkness. We visited John's parents, their cozy home filled with the warm aroma of roasted turkey and cinnamon-spiced pie. As his mother, Ellen, served tea, she smiled softly. You two have been married 8 years now, haven't you? Emily, you used to talk about wanting children soon. Have you decided how many you'd like, considering your age? Her question was gentle, an opening I seized to voice my longing. But before I could speak, John cut in, his voice firm. Mom, we're not having kids. Emily and I discussed it and we're set. He paused, then added, "She hates the idea of taking care of kids, whether at work or home." I gasped, stunned.
What?
"Wait a minute, that's not—" I began, but John interrupted again. "Mom, can we not bring this up? It's stressful for Emily." Ellen nodded, her expression softening. "Well, if that's what you've decided, it's fine to just be the two of you. Raising kids is hard work." She left the room, and my chance to clarify slipped away. In the car ride home, I confronted him, my voice trembling. "Why would you lie like that? I love children and want them, but you keep saying you don't." John's laughter was cold, mocking. "The truth is, we can't afford kids because you don't work full-time. You thought preschool teachers earn more? What a disappointment. Don't talk about kids until you earn as much as me." His words shattered me. "I never said I disliked children," I protested. "From the start, I've never wanted kids," he replied, his tone final. "They're a financial burden. I'd rather spend that money on myself." His casual cruelty left me speechless, his laughter echoing in the car as I stared out the window, my dreams of motherhood crumbling. At work, my pain began to seep into my interactions with my students. One day, a perceptive girl named Amy, with her kind eyes and quiet maturity, approached me. "Miss Emily, what's wrong? You seem less cheerful today," she said, her small voice laced with concern. I forced a smile, patting her head. "I'm sorry, Amy. I didn't mean to worry you. I'm fine." But Amy wasn't convinced. "You're not fine. You're usually so happy." "I don't want to see you like this," she said sadly. My heart ached. I hated causing her distress. "Maybe my daddy can help with your problem. He's a superhero who helps lots of people. He's picking me up tomorrow, so I'll tell him." Amy's mother usually picked her up, but she explained her father would come the next day because her mom was busy. Though I brushed off her offer, Amy insisted on introducing me to her father. I'd only met him briefly at the school's entrance ceremony, so the idea made me nervous. The next day, he arrived, a tall, polite man with a warm smile. "Thank you for looking after Amy. I'm her father. She's told me so much about you, and I'm grateful she's thriving here," he said. I smiled, deflecting. "Oh, Amy's a wonderful girl. We're the ones who should thank you." But Amy piped up, "Miss Emily's worried about something, Daddy. I want you to help her." I hesitated, reluctant to share my personal struggles. They were too raw, too embarrassing. Sensing my discomfort, Amy's father spoke gently. "I understand it's hard to open up, even to someone you know. But Amy's really worried about you. If there's anything I can do, please let me help." He handed me his business card, and when I saw his title, CEO of a prominent company, my breath caught. In that moment, something shifted. A spark of resolve ignited within me, a decision to take control of my life and seek justice against John's cruelty. As I planned my next steps, John blindsided me one evening. He came home early for once, and we shared a tense dinner. As I washed dishes, my hands trembling with anticipation, he spoke. "Hey, Emily, how about we get a divorce?" My hands stilled, the soapy water dripping from my fingers. "What?" I asked, turning to face him. His grin was smug, unsettling. "You might not like it, but my feelings won't change. A huge sum of money's coming my way, $3 million. I don't need you anymore. Your salary was just a drop in the bucket, but it kept me going. Now, with this money, I'm done. Let's split up." I swallowed my shock, forcing a calm response. "May I ask why? Where's this money coming from?" John waved me off. "That's none of your business. We're strangers now." I nodded, my mind racing. "Okay, I understand. Let's separate." His surprise at my swift agreement was evident, but he pressed on. "I'm not staying in this cramped house anymore. With $3 million, I'm buying a mansion. I'll sell this place and pay off the mortgage." I agreed, my voice steady. "That's fine. I'll find an apartment. You'll handle the mortgage, right?" He nodded, smugly. "Of course. Our positions are different now." The days that followed were a whirlwind of packing and apartment hunting. Once the divorce was nearly finalized, I arranged a final meeting with John. "I'll leave the mortgage to you. I said, sliding a written agreement across the table. This outlines everything, so there's no confusion later. Please sign it. He shrugged. Fine, as long as you don't whine about it later. But then his eyes caught the alimony section, and his demeanor shifted. What's this? Why should I pay alimony? If anything, you should pay me. You don't even work full-time. I remained calm, laying out a stack of documents. Thanks for all the overtime you've been doing, John. You love your job, don't you? Must be fun spending time with your mistress. I showed him a photo of him arm in arm with a woman, their smiles intimate. His face paled. She's just a junior colleague. It just looks bad, he stammered. I produced another photo, him and the same woman entering a hotel. He doubled down, accusing me of fabricating the images. Photo manipulation's advanced these days. You think you can fool me? I sighed, prepared for his denial. These weren't taken by me. They'll be here soon. The doorbell rang, and John's panic was palpable. I ushered in my attorney, Dean Kessler, a confident man recommended by Amy's father. Pleasure to meet you, Dean said. I'm Emily's attorney. These photos were obtained by a private detective agency, so there's no question of fabrication. Any doubts? I can call them now. John's bravado crumbled as Dean explained the evidence. The overtime was a lie. John had been leaving work on time, spending his evenings with his mistress. His stagnant salary and desire for solitude now made sense. He'd been planning to leave me for her. Amy's father had been instrumental, connecting me with the detective agency and Dean. His support, born from Amy's concern, gave me the strength to confront John's betrayal. Furious, John tried to deflect. Fine, you want alimony? I'll pay it. I've got $3 million. Just leave, I never want to see you again. I stood firm. I'd have left without you saying that. Any further contact goes through my lawyer. With that, I packed my belongings and walked out, leaving John and his arrogance behind. Months later, settled into my new apartment, I felt a mix of relief and lingering pain. The divorce had freed me, but John's audacity hadn't faded. One day, he barged in, shouting at my door until I reluctantly let him inside. What do you want? I demanded. His smirk was infuriating as he surveyed my home. Nice place you've got. 2 rooms? I could take one, right? We were a couple once. I recoiled. We're strangers now, legally. What do you want? His tone softened, manipulative. I realized I need you, Emily. You'd have a better life with me. That thing with my mistress was a mistake. I scoffed. Weren't you living in a mansion with her? Or was I just a necessity until you got your $3 million? John's facade cracked, tears streaming down his face. I thought I won the lottery, $3 million. But I misread the numbers.
It was a mistake.
I quit my job, badmouthed my boss, thinking I was set. My mistress left when she realized I had nothing. I can't pay my loans, I'm homeless. You're my only hope. I stared, dumbfounded by his delusion. I don't care, John. You sign a pledge. If you break it, I'll claim 5 times the alimony. His anger flared, and he raised his hand, but I stood my ground. Touch me, and I'll call the police. This complex has security cameras. You won't escape. Pale and defeated, John fled, tripping down the stairs as I shut the door without a second glance. Later, I learned from John's parents that he'd fractured his leg that day, racking up hospital bills on top of his mortgage and alimony debts. He'd begged his former boss to rescind his resignation, but his earlier rudeness cost him that chance. His parents had fronted the alimony, leaving him drowning in debt. He'd brought it all on himself. Visiting Amy's family, I shared my resolution with her father, who beamed with pride. I'm glad it worked out, Emily. Amy's always spoken so highly of you, he said. Amy hugged me, her joy infectious. I'm so happy to see Miss Emily smiling again. Their support had changed my life, reinforcing the value of my work. John's disdain had once dimmed my light, but as a preschool teacher, I'd found my strength. I vowed to cherish every encounter, pouring my heart into my job more than ever. My name is Sarah, and I'm 28 years old, working in the general affairs department of a large trading company. My boyfriend, John, not to be confused with Emily's ex, is 2 years older, and we've been together for 8 years. A few years ago, we started saving for our future, dreaming of marriage. On my birthday, under a starlit sky during one of our favorite camping trips, John proposed. The campfire crackled, casting a warm glow over our simple setup, a pot of soup simmering, my favorite drink in hand. No fancy restaurant, no grand gestures, just us in the quiet wilderness we loved. John fumbled with a small box, his voice steady but nervous. "Here," he said, opening it to reveal a modest ring. "What's this?" I teased, my heart racing.
"A ring."
"Let's get married. Isn't it time we got it right?" His straightforwardness made me laugh, the alcohol warming my cheeks. "All right, everything's settled," I said, clinking my glass against his. "Cheers." Looking back, I could have imagined a more polished moment, but this was us, unpretentious, grounded. A celebrity-style proposal wouldn't have suited our quiet, adventurous souls. The next step was meeting my parents, a prospect that left John jittery. "I'm so nervous," he admitted as we drove to their suburban home. I squeezed his hand. "Consider this your first challenge. Give it your all for us. Next time, it's my turn to face your family." He grinned, his tension easing. "You're brave. I should hate myself for falling for you." I laughed, straightening his tie as we parked. "You look sharp. Don't I feel like a wife already?" I thought, keeping the sentiment to myself. My parents' house, with its sprawling yard and 4 cozy bedrooms, reflected their love for the outdoors. My father, a retired man who now worked part-time at a relative's company, met my mother while mountain climbing, a passion they passed to me. Camping, hiking, these were my joys shared with John. As we arrived, my parents greeted us warmly at the door. John, still nervous, blurted out, "It's nice to meet you. My name is John." His earnestness made me smile. "I'd like to marry Sarah," he declared, his voice firm despite his jitters. In that moment, I fell for him all over again. My father raised an eyebrow, teasing. "John, are you sure you won't regret this?" The room filled with laughter, the tension breaking. My parents' easygoing nature put John at ease, and we spent the evening sharing stories of our adventures. My father, ever the storyteller, recounted his climbing days, while my mother fussed over John, piling his plate with her famous apple cobbler. I joined this company with enthusiasm, but they don't give me much work, my father said with a chuckle. "Still, I get paid, so life's easy, right?" I nodded, grateful for their health and happiness, knowing their contentment was a gift. As we drove home, John exhaled, his relief palpable. "I think I survived," he said, grinning. I leaned against him, the future feeling bright. Our proposal wasn't glamorous, but it was ours, a promise forged in the simplicity of our love. Ready to face whatever lay ahead, my father's laughter filled the room, a hearty sound that broke the tension. "If you're okay with it, go ahead," he said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. My mother chimed in, her voice warm with excitement. "Sarah's getting married." I felt a surge of fury rise in my chest. What were my parents on about? John and I had come to their suburban home simply to say hello, to share the news of our engagement, but now they were turning it into a grand affair. Before I could protest, my mother insisted we stay for dinner and spend the night, her enthusiasm as boundless as the sprawling yard outside their 4-bedroom house. John, visibly relieved by their warmth, relaxed into the moment. But when my mother called John's house to inform his parents we'd be staying over, the mood shifted abruptly. John's father, Jordan, answered the phone, his voice cold and clipped. "Thank you for your kindness, but no. I'm afraid there might be some extra charges later on," he said, his tone dripping with suspicion. My mother's brow furrowed. "Extra charges?" she repeated, her voice tinged with confusion. Jordan's response was blunt. "I'm the president of a large corporation, and John is my son. Plenty of people beg for money from me. I'm in enough trouble as it is. I don't want him involved with beggars." My mother's face flushed with anger. So, you're saying we're poor people who beg for money? She snapped. Jordan didn't back down. I'm saying it's a possibility. Her voice trembled with indignation. I see. I'll tell John to go home then. Certainly, please do, Jordan replied, hanging up abruptly. My mother turned to me, fuming. Who does he think he is? I was stunned, my mind reeling from the audacity of his words. John, overhearing, rushed to apologize. I'm so sorry. My parents were duped once, so they're wary of people's goodwill. My father placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. No need to apologize, John. You can build a good relationship with us over time. Today was a good day. Please take excellent care of Sarah. John left without staying the night, his shoulders slumped with embarrassment. I was left grappling with the revelation of his father's true personality, a man whose success as a businessman seemed to color his view of the world with suspicion. Jordan was a titan in his field, having transformed his parents' modest ironworks into a sprawling machinery manufacturing empire. His family home, a 3-story fortress of reinforced concrete surrounded by towering walls, spoke of his wealth and guarded nature. When John took me to visit, I was awestruck, my nerves jangling as we approached the imposing gates. You're nervous this time, John teased, his chuckle light but kind. Isn't it natural? I was nervous meeting your parents, too, I replied, smoothing my dress to steady myself. Inside, John's mother, Eleanor, greeted me warmly, her smile a stark contrast to the cold grandeur of the house. She led me to the guest room, where Jordan sat, his presence commanding yet unsettling. Take a seat, he said, his voice devoid of warmth. I sat across from him, my heart pounding. Hello, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sarah. John and I are getting married. I'm Jordan, John's father. Thank you for coming today. Make yourself at ease, he replied, but his eyes were sharp, assessing. Then, without preamble, he cut to the chase. What's your purpose? I blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? I asked. His gaze hardened. I'm the CEO of a large corporation. I have advantages, wealth, status. I'm wondering if that's your intention. The accusation stunned me. I loved John for his kindness, his laughter, not for his family's money. No way, I have no such thoughts, I said firmly. He pressed further, his tone growing sharper. What do your parents do? I explained calmly. My father's retired but works part-time at my cousin's company. My mother's a stay-at-home mom. They're doing well. Jordan's agitation was palpable, his brow furrowing. From what I've heard, that doesn't sound like a particularly prosperous life. And you? What do you do? I held my head high. I'm a general affairs manager at a large trading company in Tokyo. He scoffed. General affairs? You can't expect much progress there. So, you intend to rely on John and me after you marry? I made an involuntary sound, a mix of shock and indignation. What are you implying? I demanded, my voice rising. Jordan's words were unrelenting. You're going to flirt with my rich son to get on his good side because your family is poor. Your parents want money so they can live comfortably in their old age. His words were a slap, insulting not just me but my parents, who had raised me with love and integrity. That's not true, I shouted, my face flushing with anger. You're mocking my family. John tried to intervene, his voice desperate. Dad, stop. Her parents are wonderful people. They welcomed me with kindness. But Jordan ignored him, his tone icy. Shut up, John. You're naive. I'll look after you. I couldn't take it anymore. You call us poor? We may not have a mansion like this, but we live a good life. Don't speak ill of my parents. They're wonderful. Jordan's glare intensified. Poor means less money than us. A marriage can't work unless both parties are equal. You'll expect us to provide for you. Am I wrong? Something snapped inside me. I see what you're saying. Find a wealthy wife, then. Excuse me. I stood, ignoring John's pleas and his mother's shocked expression, and walked out. John chased after me. Wait, Sarah. My father's just in a bad mood. I spun around, furious. He looks down on me like I'm a beggar. He's repulsive. John's frustration matched mine. I'm not in the mood to relax, John. I'm going home. Don't contact me for a while. I brushed off his hand and left, my heart heavy with betrayal. At home, I poured out my anger to my parents. That's terrible, my father said, his voice calm but firm. Your family isn't poor, Sarah. John's a good man, but his father's worse than I thought. My mother, still stung from her phone call with Jordan, nodded. Are you ready to leave John? I hesitated, my love for him warring with my pride. I still love him and want to marry him, but this is too much. My father's eyes softened. Think it over. If it stays complicated, I'll step in. My mother added, I'd love to meet John's mother. Let's try again. Convinced, I contacted John, arranging another meeting with his parents. It felt like preparing for battle. The following Saturday, my nerves were frayed as we drove to John's house. The autumn air was crisp, the leaves a fiery red, mirroring my determination. Jordan sat in the guest room, his expression as stern as before. Hello, it's been a while, I said, forcing a smile. He barely acknowledged me. Why have you returned? I straightened, my resolve firm. My motto is never give up. He sneered. I won't change my mind, no matter how many times you come. Don't waste your time. I have my pride, I countered. Please allow me to marry John. His response was predictable. John won't marry a poor woman. I pushed back. We're not poor. Are you wealthy enough to call others poor? Jordan's face reddened. I took over my father's company and grew it from 20 employees to 2,000, with sales from 100 million to over 10 billion a year. How can I be poor? I leaned forward, unflinching. That's the company's money, not yours. Money isn't the only way to judge a person. His voice rose, defensive. That's a scumbag's line. If you want money, I'll pay you to never come back. John stepped in, exasperated. Father, stop. Sarah, please. But Jordan cut him off. This is between Sarah and me. I stood my ground. I'd like to see your parents. Bring them, and I'll assess their parenting abilities. They must be as rude as you. His sneer was venomous. Why someone like John was born from you, I don't know. Your mother-in-law must have great genes. Eleanor laughed, delighted, but Jordan snapped. Enough. John's anger boiled over. That's heinous, father. I no longer consider you my parent. Should I divorce you, too? I left, promising to return with my parents. At home, I recounted the ordeal to my parents. If you insist, I'll go see him, my father said, his tone resolute. My mother, eager to meet Eleanor, was almost giddy. Your pace drives me insane. I teased, but her excitement was infectious. What's John's father's name again? She asked. Jordan, I replied. My father's head tilted, a spark of recognition in his eyes. Do you know him? I asked. He frowned. It's nagging at me. Suddenly, his face lit up. That scumbag. Yes, I know him. The next Saturday, I arrived at John's house alone, as my father insisted on making a grand entrance later. Eleanor greeted me warmly. Hello, Sarah. What would your father like to drink? Jordan, ever dismissive, interjected. No need for fine liquor on a poorer man. I bit back a retort. He's just a few minutes late preparing. I apologize. Jordan waved it off, irritated. John, frustrated, snapped. Enough, father. I'm the one getting married. Just then, my father called to say he'd arrived. The doorbell rang, and Eleanor's voice rang out, unusually cheerful. Hello, dear. It's been a long time. I was puzzled. She'd never met my father before. My father strode in, his presence commanding. Good day, Jordan. It's been a while. Jordan shot to his feet, his face paling. You were a colonel before you retired, I believe, he said, offering a stiff salute. John and I exchanged bewildered glances. Don't be so rigid, my father said, chuckling. I was a colonel, you a sergeant major long ago. You've made great strides. Wasn't it worth my training? Jordan's formality was almost comical, his posture rigid. I apologize for the trouble I caused in the SDF, he said, red-faced. After retiring, I took over my father's company and, with help, built it to what it is. My father grinned. What a coincidence meeting like this. I heard you're the president now. A dropout come a long way. I couldn't resist. Was a chief petty officer a big deal? My father laughed. A sergeant major's like a section chief in a company. I was higher up. Jordan nodded, chastened. I didn't know John's partner was your daughter, he admitted. My father's tone turned serious. You've always had this obsession with being higher or lower than others. I told you to stop, but you're still doing it. You called my daughter poor. Jordan shrank, mumbling. I'm truly sorry. My father continued. After retiring, I joined Star Heavy Industries, run by my cousin, a director with SDF ties. Our companies are business partners, aren't they? Jordan's eyes widened. Yes, sir. Star Heavy Industries is vital to us. We're grateful. My father leaned in, his voice firm. I'm not here for business. I'm here as Sarah's father. You insulted my daughter and my family. Let's set this right. Jordan, my father-in-law, grew visibly nervous, his confident facade crumbling under my father's steady gaze. For so long, he had looked down on me, branding me a poor woman unworthy of his son. His earlier demand to see my parents, dripping with disdain, now felt like a trap he'd set for himself. The moment my father entered the room, the air shifted, and I felt a surge of exhilaration. No, that's very troubling, my father said, his tone stern but controlled, cutting through Jordan's flustered demeanor. As a parent, shouldn't you give your blessing to John and Sarah's marriage? We're not as poor as you claim. Jordan's face reddened, and he bowed his head, sinking to his knees in a gesture of contrition. I was very sorry for my impertinence, he mumbled, his voice barely audible. My father's presence, authoritative yet calm, had turned the tables. That's right, John and Sarah, my father said, turning to us with a warm smile. This means there's no problem with your marriage. All is settled. John's face lit up, his relief palpable. Yes, thank you very much, he said, his voice brimming with gratitude. I echoed him, my heart swelling. Thank you, Father. Without my father's intervention, this moment might have slipped away. I was deeply grateful for his strength. Eleanor, John's mother, seized the opportunity, her hands on her hips as she adopted a commanding tone. Chief Jordan, she said, emphasizing his old military rank with a playful edge. Jordan, still hunched in defeat, muttered, Even you? What are you talking about? But fell silent under her gaze. My father caught my eye and winked, giving me a thumbs up, a silent assurance that we'd won this battle. Our wedding was a joyous affair, filled with laughter and warmth. Many of my father's old classmates from the University of Defense attended, their imposing presence a testament to their time in the self-defense forces. Jordan, dubbed Chief Jordan by the group, was playfully roped into the festivities. During the reception, my father's classmates performed a spirited routine of self-defense forces gymnastics, with Jordan reluctantly taking the lead, barking orders as the group sweated through the exercises. We laughed until our sides ached, watching these older men, including Jordan, embrace the moment with unexpected camaraderie. Since that day, Eleanor has taken to calling Jordan Chief Petty Officer Jordan. Whenever she has a request, her tone mockingly authoritative. Jordan, once so domineering, now shrinks under her playful commands, unable to muster his former arrogance. John and I have built a happy life together, blessed with two energetic boys who light up our days. My father dotes on his grandchildren, his face glowing with a joy I've rarely seen. One day, a friend who had served with my father visited and, watching him play with the boys, chuckled. That man, once called the devil in the SDF, now covered in mud with his grandkids. My father, laughing, pretended to be struck by the boy's miracle beam, tumbling dramatically in the garden. Gee, I've been hit, he cried, as my mother and I shared a knowing smile. He's just a boy himself, I said, laughing. My father turned to the kids, his voice full of encouragement. You could be real heroes someday, you know. Go for it, future heroes. This place doesn't suit you. a middle school graduate. It's embarrassing for you to be here, a poor woman living on a pension. I don't want anything to do with you, so why don't you leave? The words from Mary, my eldest son's wife, struck like a thunderbolt, shattering the fragile patience I'd maintained for years. Her arrogant attitude, festering beneath her polished exterior, had finally pushed me to the edge. Fury surged within me, my chest tightening as I struggled to hold back tears. If I just shut up and listen, I began, my voice trembling with rage, but before I could finish, Ariana, my second son's wife, stepped in, her face pale with shock. Oh, Mary, don't tell me you don't know. This is the story of Mary, who mocked me, her mother-in-law, until her own arrogance led to her downfall. My name is Sally, and I'm 62 years old, a woman who has lived a full life despite my humble beginnings. I graduated from junior high school and spent decades working and raising my two sons, Tom and Tyler. Time slipped by, and before I knew it, I was in my 60s. 5 years ago, the sudden loss of my beloved husband left me reeling, a void that seemed impossible to fill. But with the support of those around me, I found my footing again. I took over my husband's work, managing a small but thriving business, a restaurant that holds memories of our life together. Despite minor challenges, I'm content, grateful for my health and purpose. But one thing gnaws at me, Mary, Tom's wife, and her relentless disdain. One morning, as I answered the door to a delivery carrier, I received a sealed envelope and a stunning floral arrangement. The card read, "Happy birthday," signed by Tyler, my second son. I smiled, knowing Ariana, his thoughtful wife, must have arranged it. Tyler, with his carefree, light-hearted nature, married Ariana last year, a woman whose firmness and kindness balance him perfectly. They live an hour's drive away, but their visits and invitations to join them on trips warm my heart. I called Ariana to thank her. "Happy birthday, Sally," she said, her voice bright. "I heard you love flowers. I hope you're well. We can't wait to see you." Her warmth was a stark contrast to Mary, who sent the sealed envelope, a birthday card, likely her doing, not Tom's. Mary, a self-proclaimed elite with a degree from a prestigious university and a high-ranking job at a large company, has always looked down on me. My junior high education and modest background make me an easy target for her condescension. From the moment she entered our family, her haughty demeanor was unmistakable. She'd barge into my home unannounced, demanding meals with a curt, "I'm tired from work," or ask for money behind Tom's back. Tom, a soft-spoken manager at a restaurant chain, mirrors his late father's gentle fragility, which is why I've endured her behavior. But it hurts, a quiet ache that festers with each slight. I called Mary to thank her for the card, hoping for a moment of civility. "Hello," she answered, her tone clipped. "I'm tired from work, so make it quick." I pressed on. "You sent me a birthday card, didn't you? Thank you." Her response was dismissive. "Oh, you got it? I'm glad. By the way, there's a dinner party with your relatives coming up, isn't there? Sally, dress decently, so I won't be embarrassed." She hung up without a single kind word. I sighed, wondering how to navigate her cruelty. Weeks later, we gathered for a dinner party at a luxurious restaurant to celebrate my niece's engagement. She and her fiancé opted for a simple gathering instead of a wedding, inviting me, Tom, Mary, Tyler, and Ariana, along with 30 relatives. As I walked through the courtyard with Tyler and Ariana, the warm spring air and blooming flowers lifted my spirits. "You look stunning in your kimono, Sally," Ariana said, her eyes sparkling. "It suits this place perfectly." I smiled. "It's a lovely restaurant. I wish I'd worn one, too." Tyler chuckled. "I can't afford an expensive kimono for a place like this." We laughed, our bond easy and warm. Then Tom and Mary arrived, late as usual. "Wow, you dressed properly," Mary said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Tom tried to hush her, but she ignored him, her displeasure evident. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with relatives greeting me warmly, their affection a balm to my soul. Mary, standing apart, whispered to Tom, She's so well-liked. Is it out of pity? My ears caught her words, but I pretended not to hear, taking my seat as the celebration began. The dinner was festive, the food exquisite, featured in a Tokyo magazine. Mary, indulging in sake, grew louder, boasting unprompted. K University, huh, she said, addressing my niece's fiancé, who worked at a prominent bank. I graduated from W University, and I'm a chief executive at a big company. Tom tried to intervene, but she pressed on. Academic background is everything these days. Only educated people understand certain things. People without education are low-level. My niece's fiancé, taken aback, responded firmly. I don't think so. Many respectable people succeed regardless of education. Mary's tirade continued, her voice slurred from drink. Sally, you get what I mean, don't you? She said, turning to me. I'd anticipated her attack. I don't know, Mary. You've had too much to drink. Why don't you get some air? I replied calmly. Her face twisted with irritation. What's the matter with you? I'm a college graduate and you're a junior high school graduate. How dare you tell me to leave? Tom tried to stop her, but I met his eyes, signaling him to stay back. The time for silence was over. Mary, if you have something to say, say it. I challenged. She laughed derisively.
Fine.
A middle school graduate like you doesn't belong here. It's embarrassing. You're unemployed, living on a pension at 62, not even retirement age at my company. You didn't go to high school or a good university and you have no qualifications. It's pathetic. I'd never want to be an aunt like you. Her words hung in the air, silencing the room. Even the restaurant staff paused, their faces frozen in shock. My rage boiled over, tears pricking my eyes. If I just shut up and listen. I started, but Ariana cut in, her voice trembling. Oh, Mary, don't tell me you don't know. Mary frowned, confused. Know what? Ariana's eyes flashed with anger. Sally is the owner of this restaurant. A stunned silence followed. Mary laughed, disbelieving. Don't make me laugh. But the head chef and staff rushed to my side. Boss, are you okay? The chef said. She's a wonderful person who's helped us all. Another staff member glared at Mary. Do you know what you're talking about? Tom, his face pale, spoke up. It's true, Mary. Mom and Dad started this restaurant. She took it over, but let someone else manage it because she was grieving after Dad's death. Mary's jaw dropped. Why didn't you tell me? Tom's voice was cold. If I had, you have demanded the restaurant or its profits. You looked down on her the moment you heard about her education. Tyler added, Mom lives simply, but she owns a condominium near the station and other properties. Honestly, she earns more than you. Mary's defiance faltered. Enough. She's just a middle school graduate. A calm voice interrupted, a man in an elegant suit, one of our relatives and, unbeknownst to Mary, her company's executive director. Do you know who I am? He asked. Mary's face drained of color. Executive director? She whispered. He nodded. You have a poor reputation at work, Mary. You criticize employees based on their education, causing problems on projects. Treating your mother-in-law like this only confirms it. I'll ensure your behavior is investigated. Expect a demotion, or worse. Mary swayed, pleading, Please don't. Tom grabbed her shoulders. Enough, Mary. If you'd been honest from the start, this wouldn't have happened. Let's get a divorce. You've ruined this event and caused trouble at work. I can't stay with someone who disrespects my mother, who raised us with love. I burst into tears, overwhelmed, as Tyler and Ariana held me close. Mary, distraught, shouted, Everyone's protecting this middle-aged woman? This is ridiculous. My niece stepped forward, her voice firm. You can't stay here. This is our celebration, and Sally's important to us. Please leave. Mary left, escorted by staff, as Tom apologized to everyone. My niece rubbed my arm. Don't worry, Sally. We love you, and she won't be your daughter-in-law anymore. Ariana whispered. I respect you, Sally. Tom, his eyes glistening, added, I'm sorry, Mom. I'll be a better son from now on. The dinner resumed, the mood lighter, and we celebrated my niece's happiness without further incident. Months later, Tom and Mary divorced. Mary's attempt to seek alimony in family court failed, and an investigation at her company exposed her toxic behavior. She was demoted and transferred to a small branch office. Then, unexpectedly, Tom announced he'd take over the restaurant. I never pressured my sons to inherit the business, wanting them to follow their passions, but I'd felt a quiet sadness at the thought of passing on the place my husband and I built. "This restaurant holds your and Dad's love," Tom said earnestly. "I worked at a chain to avoid failing you, but seeing how your employees adore you, I want to protect this legacy." I agreed, promising to train him. A year later, on my 63rd birthday, Tyler and Ariana arrived with their newborn, making me a grandmother. "Sally, happy birthday," Ariana said, her voice joyful as Tyler cradled their baby. Tom, now a skilled chef ready to take over the restaurant, smiled proudly. "It's time I run this place in earnest, serving delicious food for our family's celebrations." As I watched my sons and my new grandchild, I felt a quiet hope for Tom to find love again, someone who'd cherish him and our family's legacy. Please feel free to comment below if you liked this. Remember to like and subscribe for more.